Hey everyone, welcome back. I've got huge Arrival news. This is both good news and bad news. There's going to be positive impacts and there will be negative impacts for sure. Arrival pauses electric bus and car project in cost-cutting drive. The startup to concentrate on commencing production of its battery van to generate revenue. So essentially what they're doing is that they figured that focusing on building vans and buses is really complicated and it's really difficult for the company right now. Not to mention the Uber car project is still a far way away. So they had to choose one thing to produce at the moment. Now immediately you might think, why don't they just produce the cars? They're smaller, they're probably much more simpler, and the cost to profit ratio could be huge on an electric car of that size. Not to mention they'll have multiple partners similar to Uber to produce these vehicles for. But here's the thing, the electric car hasn't been in testing for long enough. So they need to start production on something right now, and they can't start on a car because they haven't been researching that car long enough. They haven't been testing that car long enough. However, the buses and the vans, they have been doing everything to get those vehicles into production. However, the buses are proven to be difficult. They are big vehicles with less demand. The cost to profit ratio is a lot smaller than a van. Not to mention the demand for the electric vans are much more immense. Electric vans demands are huge at the moment, so Arrival deciding to focus on that one single product for the time being is actually a smart idea, but it will have negative impacts because this is a shock to people. This is a shock to people who Arrival works with, especially bus companies such as Fisker. Arrival has a promising future with multiple bus companies, so this will be a bit negative for them. But this is only in the short term. Arrival will focus on the electric vans so that they can earn more money and ramp up production so that we can deliver buses as soon as possible. But I think it's a great option for them to start with the vans. Absolutely brilliant. Now Arrival is essentially putting its bus and car project on hold, for a while at least. This is due to the fact that they seek to slash costs by a third and focus on production on one single vehicle, the debut van, to generate revenue, mainly to generate revenue, to ramp the business up, to keep the business afloat. Because this is a business that does need to make money, they do need revenue, and they do need products on the road. The van is perfect, I completely agree with it. And I think in 1 or 2 years, people will start to understand why starting with the van was a brilliant idea for Arrival. Because let's be honest, Arrival has always focused on industrial vehicles, van, buses, and possibly even semi-trucks in the future. They had a great opportunity from Uber to design a brilliant car, and they did, but that car is nowhere ready for the road. Now Arrival is essentially delaying trials of its bus and pausing development work on its car project. The car project was still in development, keep that in mind, nowhere close to being a real car on the road. But they're pausing both trials and development on the car. Now this is according to 3 people familiar with the matter. Arrival is one of more than a dozen new entrants to the motor industry to list by merging with a special purpose acquisition company, a SPAC, within the past 2 years. But almost all of those new businesses have struggled while initiating vehicle manufacturing, forcing them to cut production targets. Everyone is forced to cut production targets in difficult times like this. Polestar, Lucid, Rivian, Tesla, all those electric vehicle companies are struggling right now to produce the exact amount of numbers they need to. But for Arrival, this is even more apparent. For most electric companies, they've already got vehicles on the road like Rivian, Polestar, Tesla, Neo. They've got vehicles and they've had vehicles on the road for a few years. Rather, Polestar and Rivian are new entrants to the market, but nevertheless, Rivian is producing vehicles in small numbers. Now on the other hand, Arrival, they were founded to develop zero-emission vans and buses. Precisely. They were focusing on industrial vehicles, but they expanded this into segments in efforts to widen its appeal and tap into growing global markets for electric vehicles, such as an Uber car. Now this was actually announced last year that they built a passenger car designed for ride-hailing and Uber executive Tom Edvidge to help run the program. The car that was designed by Arrival in collaboration with a ride-hailing group was due to enter production in late 2023. That's next year, the end of next year. That was the plan, but this plan will be delayed by at least 1 or 2 years. This is what Arrival said at the time. Now, last month, the group announced plans to cut its workforce by a third in order to preserve its dwellingly cash pile and focus on production of its first electric van, which is expected to start in autumn. Now, the review will conclude in September. As a result of the review, the car project has been paused. Though it may be revived once the company begun producing revenue, one person said the program was further behind the bus and van, far further behind in my opinion, having so far produced a prototype model. This was only a prototype, ladies and gents. Now, on the other hand, the bus project was much further ahead and it had received European certification, which is a huge deal. So given that the bus project has also been paused, trials are paused, and the potential customers were First Bus, that's a huge company in the UK. They're actually an American company, but their focus on the UK is quite greatly enhanced. Now, both decisions will allow Rival to focus on getting the van into production. Now, around 800 jobs are at risk across its business, out of 2,700 jobs. A lot of people didn't know that Arrival hired so many people. Over 2,700 people are employed at the Arrival company worldwide. Now, Arrival, which is due to release half-a-year earning next week, declined to comment on this. Now, the company said it has up to 20,000 orders from delivery groups such as UPS for its electric vans, which is the first product it will make. This is great, 20,000 orders from one company, and this could continue to expand. Not to mention, it was quite recent that we seen Rivian started to deliver their delivery vans to Amazon. This was a huge deal for Rivian. This is also while Rivian were building their R1T and R1S. But keep in mind, Rivian has way more funding than Arrival, far more funding. Rivian valuation was just around 80 to 90 billion. Now, the start of Arrival van deliveries expected in third quarter will help the business to begin generating first revenue since it's floated. Like many other newly listed electric van startups, Arrival has seen its share fall significantly since floating, as investors' sentiment over prospects for new entrants cool. Now, Arrival earlier this year said that the first US plant would open later than expected and said that the deliveries will begin in the UK. And said that the deliveries will begin from its UK facility in Bicester, Oxfordshire. The company plans to use small-scale microfactories for production without needing the large investment of a traditional car plant. Now, you might be wondering, how will this affect the Arrival share price? In the last 5 days, Arrival has actually been recovering somewhat, but I'm afraid this will have a negative impact on the company. The company market cap is now above 1.1 billion, but I guarantee you it's going to fall below that. It's going to lose a lot of volume today, Friday, on trading day. This is obviously not a good thing for Arrival, but like I said, it's temporary. Eventually, the van production will make sense. Prioritizing the van production is the right thing to do. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.